2nd, adoption of agenda was done on Wednesday. Item number 3, is there any declaration of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest? None stated. Public question period, doesn't look like we have any tonight. Adoption of minutes will be done on Wednesday, but beforehand, does anybody see any issues with the minutes from January 12th and 14th council meetings? Okay. Item 7, action items. Cindy, do you want to go through any of these?
There's really no updates with regard to the land acquisition, community plan, or the taxation changes. We do get new zones because we're still waiting for the community plan to get approved by the minister's office. With regard to the public not obeying the stop signs, a public post was communicated shortly after it was brought to our attention. And the the municipal enforcement officers continued their patrols around the school zone during school time. The burnt out streetlight, we are compiling a list and will be addressing the NTPC, and the Christmas lights are going to remain on until as reasonably possible.
Oh. Thank you. All right, new business, 8.1. Addition of not-for-profit swim lane rental rate at Midnight Sun Complex Swimming Pool. Okay, if everybody's familiar and read the topic for purpose and background, can we have some feedback, or does Cindy want to give a little bit of background on that?
Sure, I'll start with some background. So our swim team had identified financially the burden of renting the lanes is a bit of a financial burden for them, considering that the rates, I think last year, were up to almost $23,000 that they were paying for the lane rentals. They are a nonprofit organization. The kids do they do have a swimming fee that they pay, about $700 per kid. On top of that, they also do fundraising and bingo, but that is really their, or a raffle, but that is their only other fundraising. So when they brought it to my attention, I said simply, well, if you're nonprofit, you can get the nonprofit rate. And then when we started looking at our policy, there is actually not a nonprofit or a youth rate for swimming. Every other space within the community hall in terms of rent, or sorry, the MSC in terms of rentals of the community hall, the arena, everything has a discounted rate either for a nonprofit or a youth group, with the exception of the pool. So taking a look at that and crunching the numbers, also got some information when we looked at comparatively amongst our peers. Hay River is $20. Yellowknife is $24.95 or something around that, and Whitehorse is $22. So that's per lane per hour. When we look at what we were charging the swim team, we were charging them $37 per lane per hour, and that is not for exclusive rights to the pool. That is only for each lane. And when we looked at the pool schedule, they could have anywhere from 2 to 3 lanes. So that's what they're paying per lane per hour. But they are also sharing that with parents and taught, other lane swims, and swim lessons. So we did not believe that that was equitable when we look around at what some of the other youth groups and some of the other sports teams, as well as nonprofit organizations, are being charged at a reduced rate. So rather than having them come here and ask for a request for donation, we believe that moving forward, we should be putting it into a policy to actually have that rate. So that's kind of the rationale for why we're putting it into the policy. When you are looking, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the curling club that actually has exclusive rights to, by their lease, exclusive rights to that space, they're paying $25,000 a year. And we are asking the swim club to pay per lane, per hour, to share that space with other people. Councillor Parrott also had some very valid questions in terms of what additional cost to have those lanes running is. And the pool is already open. So if there is not that many people in the pool, then they don't pay for an extra lifeguard. Say the pool is busy, what Jake said is on Sundays, it tends to be busier, so they do have an additional lifeguard, but paying $20 for 3 lanes pays for that extra lifeguard. And the pool is already running anyway, regardless of whether they were renting the lanes or not. So based on all of that, we are recommending to reduce the rate for nonprofit and youth groups to that. Right now, in essence, what they're paying is if you wanted to pay to have a private birthday party, you're paying $150 for the hour. That is what they are paying right now to rent a portion of the pool. So we thought it would be more equitable to do it this way.
Thank you. Cindy, any comments from councillors?
Seems like a perfectly reasonable proposal.
Thank you, Ron. Councillor Merrill. Just to give some background, I think I was involved with swim team quite a number of years ago, and during that time, the request was to have the pool exclusively, and I think that was part of the initial fee scheduling. And it hasn't been, like you say, hasn't been updated since it isn't exclusive to the swim team. So, yeah, I think it's a fair thing to do for the swim team. I'm still mulling about the exact amount that should be charged, but a reduction is definitely needed. My other question would be, though, I thought we were going to address all of the user fees as a whole and come up with something, and then would it be a better idea to do that sooner or later and include this with that?
We are having a meeting on tomorrow, actually, to discuss this. So we can certainly discuss this fee in particular tomorrow. But I think we wouldn't have that answer for the much larger, any changes to those fees by Wednesday. I think we need a bit more of an analysis on that. Because also taking a look at our request for donation process and the policy and how we are going to take a look at that to be fair and equitable, and still be able to maintain some money for our operations rather than continuing to provide donations. I know a lot of you had concerns about the revenue of our sportsplex. And again, we're doing a deeper analysis in terms of how many requests for donations and how that has affected the funds and the revenue from the MSC. So that is a much bigger discussion to have. We can certainly incorporate this and give you a number on Wednesday specifically to this line of our fees and services, and then reevaluate everything. Probably, I would say by March, we should be able to have something better for you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think, again, it's not that I want to put a higher cost on anybody, but this is probably fairly important with the raise in power rates, like the inflation in general is going up, and unfortunately, user fees are gonna have to go up as well. I just don't want this to be a step down. Yeah, we're gonna step down and then turn around and step it right back up, which is something that I think we should think about. Councilor Lemire?
Like I get, we want to reduce the cost, I think, from 750, like an awful lot. Do we want to go all the way down to 20? Like I think maybe it was 24, maybe a little bit more reasonable. I'm just throwing it out there because our costs are going up, power is going up. You know, we're not raking in a ton of cash, but I understand we want to give them a bit of a break and I get it. But do we need to go that far? It's just throwing that out there.
Okay, thanks. Anybody? So, Councilor Wayman?
I want to give a bit of a break too, but I'm not going to give them a 46% break. Being that you reference Yellowknife and you reference Hay River, you can find some kind of comparison in power differences and cost differences. Maybe we can give them, like Councilman, you said 24 or 25 to reflect the region. So we are not making money, but we're not losing kind of thing. But 46% from 37 to 20, that's pretty huge. Like I said, I support all these kind of groups, but I also want it to reflect properly for our region and our biggest power bill. Thank you.
Okay, we will look into that and have that discussion tomorrow with the committee and have another rate presented to you on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. I think we're good with that discussion. Item number 9, bylaws. 9.1, we have the annual credit card increase, the third reading on Wednesday. Is there any further discussion that needs to happen on this before Wednesday? None, like none. 9.2, again, a very similar bylaw, third reading for the annual line of credit increase. Anything there? All right, 9.3, annual interim tax billing. We have a document attached. Again, we've gone through this in detail previously, and it'll be the third reading. Do we have any concerns there? 9.4, water and sewer rates. Again, it is another third reading on the topic which we have discussed. Any comments? All right, 9.5 is the solid waste levy. Again, a very similar third reading to the increase that we have discussed. Anything there? 9.6, appoint municipal bylaw officer. Enforcement officer. We have that'll be the third reading as well. Do we have any new concerns or comments? All right, and 9.7 is acquire property for the right of way. Sorry, I have to read it. Oh, acquisition of land from Northview for utility right of way purposes. Okay. It'll be the first and second reading. So this is a little bit newer one. Cindy, do you want to touch on this?
It was discovered during the rehabilitation of the utilidor behind the professional building, that when they were doing work, that actually, the right of way next to Northview, like NETAT, or sorry, not NETAT, Nija apartments being there, they still owned that right of way. And that should have been, again, this is rectifying a situation that should have been done years ago. So what we did there is we had the land assessed at fair market value. And it is $28,000 that we will be paying them to acquire that right away. And that will allow for future access to the utilidor system or any other work. Is there anything else? No, so this was discovered during that project that this needed to get rectified.
Thank you, Cindy. Comments from councilors? Councilor Lemire?
So what does that do for the town then with regard to their utility and utility?
The utility debt, they're still responsible for their utility debt.
Okay, because right now I believe it goes all the way up to behind the Mac Travel building. So now if the town takes possession of that, does that, because they only have to deal with their utility or on their property. So if it's on town property, does the town of Inuvik assume the responsibility all the way down then, with the exception of the branch that goes to their building?
No, so Northview will deal with the utility debt from their building up until curb stop. So we won't be dealing with anything. We won't be dealing with anything after our own curb stop. So anything beyond that is Northview's responsibility. So all this is, we're just acquiring, like the SA mentioned. Our utility door has sat on that lot for years and years, right? So we pretty much already accessed the utility door, and we did that during this project to replace the old utility door there. So we're just formalizing the arrangement so we know this right of way is actually owned by the town.
Okay, just so long as you're not buying a problem.
No.
Right?
Oh, sorry, Daniel, just to clarify, we've replaced that utility door or
Yeah.
section,
Yeah, it was already
and we
done.
replaced it on their land, so now we're just.
Yes, we're just formalizing
Okay.
the process.
Okay, no, that's cool.
Thank you, Dan. Any other comments? All right, well, we'll move on. Department updates. We've made aware that we will not have tech services 10.1, so we can move
Why don't
to,
we start with Parks and Rec?
okay. Why don't we do that?
Okay.
He's been sitting at the back and everybody's been looking at him, so. So the first update is
First update.
our Director of Parks and Recreation is Trace Bozarth. And Trace has decided to come and join the team again, so welcome.
Thank you.
Just let me start off by saying I'm incredibly grateful to Mayor and Council as well as Cindy for allowing me the opportunity to come back. Looking forward to hitting the ground running, looking forward to doing some big things this year. Getting a lot of events and different things on the go. The team's done a great job, and I'll talk about some of that. And it's a little bit of a shorter presentation tonight, so just bear with me. I'm still getting my sea legs back under me, but promise from here on out, start doing some great things. So kind of a combination the last couple of months, just even familiarizing myself with some of the goings on in December. Normally I like to break out the fitness center, the library, and the pool stats. But this for the just first one back, we just have the stats all together. So in December, we sold 92 fitness center passes. That's all levels. There has been a few more years in there, full years. So that's good to see. Starting to promote that a little bit more. Obviously, December is Christmas centric. So we had all of our Christmas parties, the GTC Christmas party, the IRC TOI staff party. Some of our more community oriented events, the community kids Christmas party, everybody gets a gift. That one's always very popular. The Christmas parade, as well as the Light Up the Town contest, which has become a bit of a fan favorite. People like to decorate their houses. We saw some great displays out there this year. So hoping that gets bigger and bigger every year. There was quite a few private arena rentals and obviously events put on by outside user groups. One that I noticed that I thought was fantastic was the teachers versus students private arena rental. So hopefully we get a few more of those things in the future. Moving into January, although the January stats aren't complete yet, we've sold 84 fitness center passes so far, and that's including all levels, 1 month, weekday pass, everything. So we are on track, hopefully, to break that 92 number. And so it looks like people are really engaged in the fitness center and keeping their New Year's resolutions. So hoping to continue to grow that. Along with the Sunrise Festival in January, we had the Sunrise Glow Skate, again, another fan favorite. Lots of kids out for that. Those are always really good, excuse me. Boot camp resumed in the new year. So helping people stick to those resolutions, giving them something to do. get out of the house and stay active. We did host a first aid course for our pool staff, getting some more of them certified, looking to move them up to the next level, building lifeguards and helping build that capacity into our pool to hopefully look to expand hours and operations into the future. So the pool is back to regular operations now. I know we were closed for a little bit during that cold snap, had some heating issues and things like that. Everything is looking stable. Luckily, nothing was impacted in terms of running the pumps or anything like that. So Jake Weens, our pool supervisor, has done a fantastic job of getting everything back online and making sure everything's going to run tip top for the next little bit here. Can you just go back? Along with that, there is some upcoming pool training coming. So Jake has got a couple of courses organized to create more national lifeguards. And that again will help us build capacity, expand the hours and the programming in the pool, as well as certifying a couple of new swim instructors, which again just allows us, that's for swim lessons. And that will allow us to offer more swim lessons, different times, hopefully be able to fit everybody's schedule because nobody has any shortage of things to do. So we're hoping we can accommodate that. We had 2 free fitness classes in January, and those were actually funded by the NWT-RPA's Get Active grant. So our boot camp instructors, Anik Jenks and Natasha Kulikowski, pursued that and worked in conjunction with myself and Lori, the recreation coordinator, to get those going. And it just provided a nice, easy program for newcomers to come and try out. Was the beginner fun and fit. And then the fitness super circuit was targeted at all levels, but also allowed, also was scalable to make it tougher for anybody that wanted a little bit more of a challenge. So those were great. Looking forward, got a big couple of months coming up. As we all know, the IRC Cup is in February, so that is going to take place from the 12th to the 15th. Always an exciting event. Looking forward to hosting that once again. The Inuvik Speed Skating Club is going to host a clinic on the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And the idea behind this is that it will be similar to the Inuvik Minor Hockey School that was hosted at the end of November, middle of November there. So they will be bringing in some high-level speed skaters to coach everybody up and provide that opportunity. So we're really happy to be partnering with them on that. On February 7th, we have the last of our 3 free fitness classes. So that one again is another beginner fun and fit. So if you know anybody who's looking to get involved into fitness in the new year, that's a great opportunity. It is free. Again, it's funded by those grants. So hope to have lots of people out for that. Boot camp continues. Figure they deserve some credit because they chase those events down as well. One thing that we're really looking forward to is February is an incredibly busy month. The community hall and the community lounge are booked, I want to say 90% of the month to this point, between various events that we're hosting, various community events, different user groups and things like that. So it's always really great to see the facility fully utilized. On that note as well, we have a reoccurring booking in the Sundog room for Sundays and Wednesdays. And that's a church group that approached us, late in November. And they're going to do some Bible studies and some gatherings and things like that. So not only do they have a place to come and utilize, which they were struggling with, obviously it's also good for our revenue stream to have that reoccurring booking and something to count on. And it worked out really well to where it fit a time slot that was otherwise underutilized. So we were able to put them in there and help them out that way. Looking a little more far forward, obviously we have the Gwitchin Cup coming up in March, and that will be taking place from the 19th to the 22nd, as well as we're a hosting venue for the Northern Lights Ultra Marathon. And I think that's just a super neat thing. So I wanted to give it a little bit of credit. We don't necessarily have anything to do with the operations of that as the MSC. They're just going to be using the lounge and some other areas as staging areas for the marathon. But we're hoping to maybe collect some of the people that like to do that and bring them back up for the Midnight Sun Marathon in the summer. And unfortunately, the last little bit there is the hot tub is currently down Although our maintenance staff, I had a meeting with them this morning and they have discovered the problem and they are fairly confident, they'll be able to do some fixes and have it running sooner than later. I guess what was happening is there is a pipe. The main pipe with the hot tub is not far enough out of the concrete, and so it's not seated properly, and it's causing a leak, and it looks like there possibly been some previous repairs. And so they're kind of taking all of that away and looking to do it properly and get it fixed, hopefully once and for all. So although not great news on that front, we are working towards reopening the hot tub hopefully fairly shortly. Does council have any questions?
Nope. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, and it's a little bit, I mean, it's not personal, it's one of the things I use a lot is the squash courts.
Yes.
But I never get, or we never see any updates on usage or, that sort of thing. I know I buy 3-month or a year passes. I don't know for sure, but it seems like maybe not everybody is paying for their using the courts. And it's just something I wanted to bring to your attention possibly. And then maybe we can start tracking that because they are actually starting to get quite busier, I guess, is what I'm getting at. I like to see that trend if it's me or it's reality.
No, I believe you are correct on that. Even just looking at the event calendar today, we always record who books squash courts and things like that, and they are booked out constantly. So I would agree that we're definitely seeing more use out of them. And I also agree that, gathering those statistics and having that together would be a good representation. I think a lot of times, unfortunately, with the squash court being in that back area, we forget about it as an amenity, but it is a fantastic amenity that does get used by a number of people. And so I'll be sure to include those in the future. And we'll definitely have a look at, either monitoring if people, if there are people speaking in there or what the case is. So if you just notice that sometimes there be people in the court that, maybe don't necessarily recognize, or they just kind of pop in, or is that kind of the?
No, it's just very casual, even when I use it. I mean, of course I pay for my usage,
Right.
But there isn't a formal like, oh, Kendall's here, let's write it down,
Yeah.
or these people are here using the courts just to make sure. And again, it's just, I want to make sure that the sport itself is paying what it needs to be, that we pay our portion of usage to the rec center, so.
Absolutely.
I have one thing.
Yes, sir.
Do you need a key or do the lights have to be turned on when you request the use of the squash courts, or can you just walk in there with a racket and go to town?
Theoretically, you could just walk in there with a racket, although that door, that's a lie. The door in front of the play zone is typically locked and the lights are off. So if Councillor McDonald was coming in to use the squash court, we would unlock it for him, but then that's not stopping somebody from sneaking past the squash court's already open. So I think to Councillor McDonald's point, a sign-in sheet or some kind of verification is definitely a direction we need to be looking at, because obviously we want to be capturing that revenue and, making sure that the courts are properly utilized as well. So
Yeah, I can't remember. Is there lights for each court or?
Yeah, there's 3 switches. There's a light for each court and a light for the hallway.
So maybe,
But it's open because the play zone is there as well.
right.
I mean, I don't think it's like, I just want to make sure that people are paying for the usage of the
No,
area.
100%, absolutely. Yeah.
And then it also helps us see how much revenue we are generating through basically a space that's not costing us anything else, so. Yes, Councilor Crowe.
And what it might just end up being is maybe a great post saying, hey, as a reminder, we have these wonderful facilities, and when booking them and using them, you remember to check in with the front desk staff. Because I know lots of people are still using punch passes or other things as well to pay, and just putting it in there as a reminder of our great facilities might be a good starting point, I think, because if there are individuals sneaking in, they may genuinely not know that they need to pay, and but I haven't seen it, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening.
Honestly, I don't think it's a huge problem, but it is something that's more about the tracking it and for instance, if like say I buy a year pass or a 3-month pass, I don't generally keep track exactly when my pass is going to, when it's done. And the front staff is just used to seeing me walk in and go play squash. So it's just those little things. That's all. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you.
Thanks, bud.
Cindy, is there anyone else you'd like to go to next? Okay.
Well done.
Okay, 10.2, our economic development and tourism.
Is that right? So I'll just give you a little sum up of what happened in 2025. So we had more than 1,200 visitors at the Welcome Center.
Louder,
More.
can't hear you.
Okay. So more than 1,200 visitors came by the Welcome Center. We attended 5 conference trade shows, so the Calgary and Vancouver trade show to promote Inuvik. And I went to the Economic Development Association of Canada conference, and of course the NWT Tourism and TIAC conference that were hosted in Inuvik. We hosted 7 events like the Sunrise Fest, Tourism Week, Business Week, Fiddle and Flow, Harvest Fest, plus 29 Arctic markets and 13 cultural connections workshop. That all combined was 65 days of events for the town. And we hosted 4 economic development and tourism stakeholder meetings. On the side, you have some pictures, like the Arctic market for D&D, the Calgary trade show, and down is the Sunrise Fest from last year. Also, I applied for 7 grants, 6 were approved, and we carried on 5 projects, the Inuvik Guide, the newsletter, that was a new project led by the marketing team. The town website completely migrated, town building signs of each buildings, welcome, the shades that were bought, and we're gonna finish that this year. Also, we had 3 filming applications. Last year, the previous year, 2024, we had 6. The main one last year, 2025, was The Amazing Race. Regarding websites, very interesting data. China is actually the most active user on our website compared to Canada.
That's Carney's deal.
Page views, the main one, of course, is the home page, then events. People are also looking into careers or the aquatic center, and then bids. Regarding Facebook pages, I just put out the number of posts for 2025, total of 863 posts. Of course, the main one is Town of Inuvik, with more than 500. So for 2026, we just had the Sunrise Festival with 12 activities, 17 sponsors, and we actually breaking even between sponsorship, so revenues and spending. We're finishing up the 2026 Inuvik Guide. We met our revenue target, and I just launched this afternoon the voting for the cover. So go on social media and vote for the cover you would like to see for the 2026 Inuvik Guide. And like I said, the boardwalk shades should be completed by early summer. Yeah. So it will help with the events that we're running all summer long. I think that's pretty much it. Good news also, I got an email today from Pan North, so I just need to, we got pre-approved, so now I need to fill out the application for tourism initiatives projects. And I think that's pretty much it. Yep.
Questions are,
If nobody else does.
all right. Can we start with Councillor Gillis?
Oh, no question for me.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry. Oh, Councillor Baerlich, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Just with respect to the traffic from the different countries, the number of people accessing the website and which pages are being accessed, the numbers are pretty skewed as far as like very far apart as far as the total number accessing the website. Do you have any idea, like with that many traffic users from China, I guess in particular, what they may be looking at the site for? Because I sometimes think we have a pretty underdeveloped Aurora tourism market in Inuvik. I know there's definitely people who kind of come up on their own and just want to wander around and look for northern lights. We don't have anything quite like a setup in Yellowknife where I am right now, watching lots of Aurora tourists gather around. Do you know if that Chinese traffic is kind of looking into information about Aurora viewing around Inuvik? Are you able to distinguish that?
Again, and I'll look into it. The only answer that I have for you right now is the most popular page is homepage where everybody lands on. And the second one is events. So that would be my best guess, but I can do a research what IP addresses from China are looking into and are landing on our website. So I can give you that info. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a bit of curiosity because I think there's potential there for someone who might be interested in some entrepreneurial endeavors in the tourism market to start looking at developing Aurora tourism, because there's definitely people coming up to view them in smaller numbers, but I think it's because we don't really have anything organized. But if someone was willing to organize things more, they may have a potential market there, especially with decent air travel rates with Air North from Vancouver up through to Inuvik.
Great update. There was a lot of posts on social media last year. That's great, over 800. Do you have any indication of how they're being received? Like, are there lots of likes or shares or comments? And is it one site over the others, or is it balanced between, I think you have maybe eight or so different ones up there?
Yeah, Jenna, can I go back to just to have the numbers on the right? So I have, for example, I just have the town of Inuvik one, for example, in 2025, the most viewed one was the shelter in place, and we had 150,000 views with 14,000 interactions. That means like, sharing, or whatever. So that's the most. After that, it's roughly around 15,000 views, and depends, but around 600, 700 reactions to posts on town of Inuvik. Yep, thanks. But for example, Inuvik tourism is not really used that much as it should be, because as you may know, I didn't have a marketing person for a year, and that kind of was left aside. So Inuvik tourism doesn't have that much of people liking and like interaction. But Sunrise Fest, for example, even though we're not posting that much, we have a lot of engagement. Arctic Market a lot as well. Arctic Development Expo is the one that is also not taking that much as I was looking into data. I think our target is not really adapted. Like Facebook is not really adapted to the target. So that's something I should look into and change. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll have Daniel in the infrastructure update.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, just a quick update from the Department of Infrastructure. Of course, we did be in the new year, and very little going on in terms of capital projects. I'm just gonna do a little bit of a look back at 2025, and what we did and stuff like that. So firstly, I was looking at the budgets in terms of the budget. There are three departments that fall under the Department of Infrastructure. So that's 40, 30, and 60. So for 40, which is environmental, those are our budgeted numbers and actuals for the year. So we had a budget in terms of revenue, we had budgeted about 714, but we ended up making more than we budgeted, which was 776. And in terms of expenses, we had a budget of $1,000,004, and we spent a little bit over that. So okay. All right, for Department 60, which is water sewer, we had a budget of 11 million, slightly well over 11 million, with an actual of 7. So we did receive a little bit less than we were expecting in terms of on the water bill front. For the expenses, we had a budget of 11.4, and our actual was about 8.9. For 30, which is public works, we have budgeted about 149 for revenue, but we got more than we had budgeted for. So we had an actual of 286. A good chunk of that was from the funds we got to have the community energy champion, and the stipend from NWTAC for having all of our buildings inspected. In terms of expenses, we had a budget of about 3.4, and we spent less, which was about 3.1 for the entire year. Still looking at 2025 in terms of professional development. By regulation, we run a class 3 water treatment plant in Inuvik, and we were supposed to have at least a class 3 operator, which we haven't had for years. Unfortunately, one of the technicians there, Alan Clarkson, did end up taking the class 3 training, and he passed. So now we do have a class 3 certified water technician, so which means we're now meeting the regulations which we're supposed to. And then 2 of them also passed their class 2 last year, and we hired a new staff member there who is fully trained journeyman electrician that joined the team. And on the facilities side, we had 2 of the members trained up to level 2 certification for the arena, and then we had a new maintenance coordinator in person of Michael Fraser. And they did have all the team members also did their WIMIS, and a couple of them also their chainsaw training as well, and then towards the end of the year there. So funding applications, we have hands in a lot of pots, trying to find money so we can reduce the burden in the town. So on top of the list there, so I have an Inuvik active transportation enhancement project, which I applied for 4.5 million. So that's going to help with sidewalks across towns, across the town, if we're successful. So we're going to mirror the sidewalk, for instance, on Mackenzie from one side to both sides, the school area. So right now we're just waiting to see how that goes. We have one for 9.9 for the reservoir rehabilitation and expansion, so which would be to replace the older of the 2 reservoirs and filling the line from the reservoir into town. We have a second application, with chief application, which is for the new subdivision for about 11.2 million, which is the new subdivision in town. But all of this obviously we won't be going ahead with unless we get the money. And then we do have an application with CANNOF for the Regional Defense Investment Initiative for about $5.4 million, which has 3 projects included in that. So that includes the lagoon, a new bulk water station, and to support the reservoir as well. And then another application for 125,000 for safe and active school routes. So that's strictly for Brenner Road, which will support the inclusion of sidewalk and a necessity actually for active transportation around the school when we finally get there with the project. Obviously, that's probably not going to fund the entirety of it, but that will help us to get it started. In terms of application in progress, we're currently working on 3 other applications with for the chief, which is the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund, but this is through the territorial government. And the plan there is to apply for the future utility replacement, the water reservoir project, and the water treatment plant piping replacement. So we have a couple pipes in there we want to replace, and then of course the one under the building that failed towards the end of last year. So that's also included in that application. So hopefully the deadline for that is February 28th. So I hope to get those in between now and then, so we can hopefully get some money to get some work done. So since the new year, we've had the team trying to do some cosmetic repairs in the MSC. So all the cracks, I mean, like most people probably know, we have a bunch of cracks on the cinder blocks and stuff at the MSC. So the team has started working on fixing those. So that's the before and the after picture right there on the right. That's another one there by the Calling Club area. That's also getting patched and of course get painted once it gets to that. This was the office upstairs, so the director's office. So Trace will have a fresh, clean office to come back to now that he's back. So that was renovated and painted by the maintenance crew there. And yeah, look forward to starting capital projects here pretty soon. But in the meantime, if anybody has a question.
I have one.
Councilor,
Is there any other areas where you're going to be looking for ad funding as well? Like, or is that pretty much all the funding that you like resource? So far, is that the end of it, or is there more venues where you're still looking for?
Oh, always we're certainly always open to new sources of funding. The SAU gets an email very regularly with all the funding sources from NWTAC, and as soon as she knows, she sends that our way.
So it is a continuing.
Yeah, so it's a continuous process.
Oh, that's cool.
We see funding source, we apply as long as we have a project that can fit.
That fits.
That can fit within that.
Yeah, cool.
I'm sorry, Daniel, you skipped by Department 60 really quickly. I think that was, you said there was a slight reduction in revenue from the budget, but it was I'm guessing, was that it was like $4 million. You noticed that?
That's my question.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's that. You skipped by really quick, so that's small reduction.
No. I'm trying to go back and go. It's just.
But I'm guessing that might be the.
So there are different individual line items in that budget, right? So this has to do with the entirety of the budget, the salary and all that. So in terms of revenue, the big one there, for revenue, we have budgeted, for the water bill, we have budgeted about $1.1 million in the budget, but we ended up with only 908. For commercial, we had 128, and we actually got more. For commercial, we got more, we got 133,000, but we budgeted 128. But for residential, we had 1.1 the forecasted revenue, but obviously we only got 908 when that came down to it at the end of 2025. So and I was just asking him, I was saying that to him just before I came up here. I was like, why did this happen? And he was saying we did have issues with refunds, and all that with clearing of the accounts and the new person starting and finding out there were some things that had happened prior to her that needed to be fixed, and all those issues she has caught up now. Director Odessa might be able to speak more to that. She's caught up now on most of those, and there were some refunds and stuff that had to be done. So all of that probably impacted what that budget line looks like at the end of the year. But yeah, that was why that was one of the major differences there.
Okay.
Sorry, and to clarify, Department 60 also is capital projects, correct?
Utilities capital. Yes, utilities capital.
Yes,
Also included
so
there.
that's the other thing, because that was about 200,000. You just
Yeah, that
identified.
was still way off.
It's the other couple of million, but that is because of capital projects. So that is waiting, anticipating So this here, in terms of revenue, that also includes funding for capital projects,
Yes.
correct? Yes. So that disparity is where that funding came from. We anticipated we were getting a certain amount for capital projects like Utilidor and CPI funding and all of that. So the revenue is also reflected. That's how much we thought we were getting, but that is how much we actually spent. And a lot of that has capital. So for CPI, for instance, we have to spend the money.
So that's one of the big ones. So for CPI, we had a budget of 2.2 and we only ended up with 874. So that's over $1 million there.
So does that kind of explain?
It does. I mean, looking at it from here, that $4.5 million is it's a large number
Yeah.
that isn't completely explained, I guess, if you didn't get your funding sources, but we still budgeted for that. Yeah, so we're still in the red
Yeah,
here.
so you'll also see that we didn't spend as much either, right? So if we didn't get the money, we also didn't spend it.
Well, we didn't spend two and a half less, but 4.5, like it's still, yeah, there's still, it's just like that number is a
Yeah,
lot greater.
and the CPI funding and some of the government funding as well is, remember that we are on a calendar year from from January through December, and their funding year is April. So some of that funding there's a bit of a lag.
So some of that's not like true representation, is that what?
Yeah, and that's where Director Odiasi is going to be explaining it
Okay.
a little later on. Yeah. Maybe we should call water.
Okay.
And so that is also the challenge, because the way that the budget is presented and set up is that capital budget is embedded in for the utilities is embedded in the operational budget. So it's really it kind of skews the numbers there. So one of the things that we were talking about is actually pulling out capital from water sewer and having yet another budget line, like another department line. Instead of Department 60, it could be Department 61, where it's separating the capital from the operating in terms of the report.
Okay, any other questions, Daniel? Thank you, Daniel. Okay, Tricia is gonna come present on Inuvik Works.
Good evening, council. Fellow staff. So Inuvik Works, for our quantitative update, in November, we diverted 1,502 pounds from the landfill. And in December, we diverted 908 pounds. We had to put a stop on some donations because we were getting a little overwhelmed. So we asked people to hold off for a bit. And so that's why December is a little bit lower. And the total that we've diverted from the landfill to date is 17,928.45 pounds. That's well above what we targeted or what we thought we would do. November store sales were down $4,648 compared to what we were seeing around $6,000 and $7,000 per month. And December was even lower, and we forecast that January is going to be pretty low. It's been pretty slow at the store, the post-Christmas lack of shopping. And it's interesting because in the summer months up until October, we saw, of course, a lot of tourists coming in and shopping. And so we don't see that now during the cold season. So it was quite interesting how that has impacted our sales as well. We had 3 crew members that completed the chainsaw safety course. We had 9 people completed the food safe course. And we had a number of crew members that completed the Trades Essential program. It was a 4-week program
2 weeks, that was focused on plumbing and 2 weeks that was focused on carpentry. And, they were quite proud of what they made. The instructors said that they're one of the fastest groups that they've had in completing projects. They were completing projects and saying, now what? And the instructors had to come up with extra projects. So one of the things they did, thank you. One of the things, did I go too far? Yeah. That they did was, you'll see there, they have, the blue house in the bottom was the major project they did for the carpentry project, and it's a little playhouse that is child size, that's going to be donated to Children First. We're just waiting for the playground to be in a state where they can take it, because right now it's full of snow. And so they did that project and they were done, and they were looking for other things to do. And so at the top left-hand corner there, some of you may recognize that giving tree that was at Northmart, I believe. And that was done for another nonprofit group that put in a request asking if they could build that for them. So they did a lot of projects around the community. And for the qualitative update, we had a number of things that were happening. 2 mentees signed up with the Mentorability. Mentorability contract is possibly being, or is now being extended until 2027. It was supposed to be completed in 2026. The federal funding was done, and we just got news that it's going to be extended, and it's looking like Inuvik will remain being a mentorability hub for that. And so we have another year of that work. We've had lots of next to new sales on. We had bag sales, we had discount sales before Christmas, we had in-store draws. Just trying to turn merchandise over, and it's been turning over quite well. We refill the shelves and the clothing racks every day. We had the Girl Guides, the younger ones, the Sparks and Embers came in, and they came in for a store tour, and they had so much fun. So we talked about some of the reason why we do the next to new store and how much we divert from the landfill, and they decided it was the size of an elephant when they were thinking of the pounds that, or the kilograms that we've diverted. And they had a lot of fun using the pricing gun and the tagging gun and just learning about what we do, and spent the evening, just finding out about the environmental impact. We had an interview with CBC showcasing the work. Some of you may have seen Alfred Kendi. He's our #1 salesperson, and I keep teasing him. He should be on social media or join the CBC crew himself, because he's always talking people up and is very sociable. Our crew worked through the Christmas break, which was unusual around town. None of the other organizations that support elders, or I should say none of them, very few of the organizations that support elders were mobile and working during that time. And during that cold snap right after Christmas, our crew was going around shoveling the elders' walks, checking in on them. They always go and knock on the door, ask them if they have any garbage they want taken out. And that's their way of just going to the door and seeing if they're okay. So they were checking in on them. There was a couple of instances where there was an elder that was having a housing issue that we brought to their landlord's attention and was able to divert a fairly serious issue. And just little things that they come across, that they report, and we can make sure that the elder gets the support they need. So during the Christmas break and that cold spell, they were still out and doing that work, and we're really happy to do it.
they always come back smiling because the elders are so appreciative. So some things we have coming up is February 3rd, we have a basic computer course. Right now we have one crew member that's in the Marine course that's being offered. February 4th and 5th, we have the Northern Host course that we'll be presenting. February 13th, we have booked, we got some literacy funds, so we'll be going out to Ranger Station. This was planned months ago when we got the funding, and they'll spend a day out and we'll be working on some different types of literacy. And during February, we're doing a gender equality trades workshop, and the poster should go out tomorrow. We're just nailing down the dates. We're working on career plans for each of the crew members. So as most of you know, our funding for each of the crew members ends March 31st. And so we've been working towards a plan for each of them. I met with the Department of ECME, our major funder for the project, and they were talking about ways to extend some of the crew members' time with us. And so we're looking into that. And so we have 2 crew members that have been very consistent and have been learning a lot and getting stronger in all kinds of ways. And so we're looking at perhaps keeping them on in a training position. So training for a next step up instead of just the basic job prep programs that we've been doing. And elder quotes, we have elders that are thankful all the time. One elder talks about it's her happy time in the day when the crew comes and sees her. And this slide that I referred to before, these are just some of the projects that we worked on for the community. So Alfred, who's a budding chef, made chili and all kinds of cookies for the mental health awareness working group sessions, the Blue Monday they had, and he cooked for a couple of the events. And our crew helped get the pallets for the Sunrise Festival and stacked them all up. So they were really happy to help with that event and help the fireworks go well with that warm fire. Any questions for me?
Looks really good.
Thank you, Patricia. Doesn't look like there's any questions. You answered them all in your presentation. Oh, sorry, there is one. Councilor Gillis.
Everything looks really great, Patricia. I'm just curious how like the funding applications are going, or have you heard back from anyone, or because it kind of wasn't in your, I'm just wondering if we're still seeking funding opportunities or grants, proposals, any proposal writing going on?
Yes, so constantly. So I just put in one to the GNWT for some funding and into United Way for some small pots of funding. And I'm working on, as I said, I met with the Department of Education, Culture and Employment because they're one of our major funders for the wage subsidy and to carry the project. And so we were talking about what we could focus on this coming year. And I'm probably 3/4 of the way through that proposal, just waiting on some numbers for the budget for some training and some facilitation. And then I'll submit that proposal. And with that one for the wage subsidy, some parts of it you need to identify who you're applying for the wage subsidy. So it's not as straightforward because you have to have someone that you're just hiring or that you're gonna hire as of April 1st, which is a little ways out, and apply for them for the wage subsidy. So it's a bit of a balancing act to get your ducks in a row and apply in appropriate time frame. but always little pots here and there. As Daniel mentioned, Cindy sends us this wonderful newsletter that has all kinds of funding opportunities, so I always go through it and see what fits for us. Yeah, and always scrounging, everywhere, yeah.
Any other questions or concerns? All right, thank you, Patricia. Next update will be our corporate services update. I think everybody has the attached reports.
Evening, everyone. This is a corporate services report for the year 2025. Starting with the capital project report. The highlights are when this report was presented, was prepared on January 23rd, out of the annual capital budget of 14.05 million, 8.8 million had been spent, an increase of 1.4 million from last report. Out of 45 approved projects, 24, a little bit over 50% have been completed and substantially completed. With 3 postponed, while the rest are various stages of completion. Total capital project funding is we got 8 million. Total capital project expenditure 8.8 million. The deficit of 800,000 was funded in part by operational surplus of 500,000 and deferred revenue and other reserves. Operating expenses variance report for 2025. The highlights. Total revenue for 2025, 18.8 million. Total expenses for 2025, 19 million. Deficit for 2025, 263,000. Transfer for water and sewer reserves, 728,000 from previous years. So leading to a surplus after the transfer of 466,000, which was transferred to the capital project. The detailed explanations are in the operating expense variance report, which I have with me, and I think every other councillor has it. I'll just go through that quickly.
Jenna's also going to pull it up and share it, so everybody can see the bigger picture.
Is that the one that you sent today, or is
Yes.
that from, okay?
Yeah, it's good.
Just so everybody knows that, I think the explanations, which I appreciate, they were on, I did see them, but they didn't print out, I don't think, on some of the printouts. I don't know if they got cut off or, but I don't have the explanation.
Yeah, I'll go through the notes right now. So I have about 9 notes there. From the revenue side. Okay, want to call it up first?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I just need to dump it in. So
Okay.
just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna put it right into the.
Does it see them?
Yes.
That's the. Okay, Don't know how many notes,
They're at the bottom.
okay, I'll
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Here, I can scroll down. There we go.
All right. So note one there for protective services, we exceeded the budget by 11%, and that's due to false alarm fines by the fire department. Note two is infrastructure, public works. We exceeded the budget by 92%. And that's as a result of unbudgeted revenue items from Trans-Canada Trail and Northwest Territories Association of Communities.
So you identify which line you're talking about. That way, the explanation, they can actually see the number. So the first one, the revenue, the surplus you were talking about was protective services, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, so
11%.
33,000 more than what we budgeted for because of the false alarms and their revenue, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, I just used 11%. Okay, yeah.
and then the next one?
The next one is the next line, 92%, which is 137,000 more than we budgeted. And that is as a result of what we got from Northwest Territories Association of Communities and the Trans-Canada Trail. We did find budget for those ones. I didn't provide explanations for those below 10%. So the next line will be economic development and tourism, which is 19%. We are above revenue by 19%, and that is due to positive variances mainly in AD revenue. We had more AD revenue than we budgeted for, and adverts on Inuvik guide. The next one is a deficit, parks, recreation, and leisure. And that's mainly due to concession rentals, pools rentals, and recoveries. We're short in those areas. Particularly concession rentals, we noticed that we had not charged lay leavers for some months prior, and we expected that we could get the funds in 2025, but now we're expecting to get that in 2026. So that is still going to come in. And then the next line, which is also now a deficit, minus 10%, that's library. Yeah, library too, it's due to reduction in library literacy programming funding from 24,000 to 15,000. So the funding is now going to be 15,000. It started from 2025. We thought we were going to start from 2026, but it started from 2025. So we budgeted 24,000, but we got 15, and that's what we're going to continue to get. So that's why there's a shortfall for that one.
And to clarify, the library funding is because it used to be geared towards younger kids in terms of literacy funding, and they have changed their funding to be more youth and young adult. So we're going to try to pivot and come up with programs that will fit into there. But when we applied for the funding last year, as much as we tried to fit as much as we could, they couldn't justify giving us the youth and young adult funding for some of the programs. So that is going to be, we are going to be taking a look at some of those library programs to, again, increase some of that funding again.
Thank you, Cindy. So that's all for the revenue side. From the expense side, we'll start from the second line, which is protective services. And that's also a positive variance of 10%, which is 175,000. And for that, it's
is due to, if we look at, note 6, we only spent 20% of the Wildland Urban Interface, that's WUI, contribution agreement. So we got 206,000 and we've only spent 20% of it. So we tend to spend the balance in the new year, 2026. So that's why we have that huge positive variance there.
So again, to explain that wildland interface, that's WUI, you'll hear that term. This came after our final budget. This came in the fall, this funding, and it is a multi-year funding. So we got the funding, the full funding in the fall of this year. That's where we brought on our WUI coordinator, and we've only spent up until December. However, that is a multi-year project until next March, and that's where the rest of the funds are going to be spent. So our capital budget, our final budget did not have those numbers, so that was in addition to, that's where it came from.
Yes. So yeah, that's the only expense item that's over 10%. So I didn't provide notes for the rest. And just scroll down a little bit. Okay. I think there's one. There are two more. Land. The land fund revenue. So for land fund revenue, we have that's note 7. The surplus too, we have a surplus there. We got more revenue than we anticipated, and that's due to there's an amount of 7,000. That's return of surplus auction amount for 2024 auction, and more lease fees than budgeted for. So what happens during auction is that when we have surplus, we send it to Supreme Court, and it stays with them for 1 year. If the owner of the property doesn't apply to get that money back, and it comes back to the town, it becomes the town's fund. So we got the 7,000 this year for a property that was sold in 2024, and it's part of our revenue. So the next item is utilities. Utilities revenue. Utilities revenue. We received less water and sewer utilities revenue than budgeted for. That was also explained by Director Daniel. And it's part of why we are looking at getting more revenue by the additional fees that we are proposing. Then the second line is we also have the fund. In terms of the funding, we have less by 14%, which is due to we spent less of the loan interest. We anticipated our budget for loan interest payment was about $500,000, but we ended up spending about $300,000 because we didn't take all the loan we budgeted for. We planned getting a loan of about 3-point-something million, but we took a loan of 1.5. So that's part of why we have positive variance there. And the other part of that is we also spent less in electricity. We spent less in electricity overall. So that's what we have there. For the capital items, a lot of it has been discussed, but we spent more than we received by $800,000. And part of the funding came from what we have. We have a surplus of 465,000, you can see from up there. And the balance of 382. The deficit comes from deferred revenue. There are some items, we got some funds that we didn't spend. So some of that was used for this, which we will need to cover this year. And we had actually, well, it ended up being better for us. We had actually asked for more loan from the bank, and they didn't give it to us, which is good because we didn't have to pay interest on that one. So we just use some funds that we have, which is going to net off by the time it's 2026. So it's a better deal. So can we go back to the main PowerPoint?
Does anybody have any questions on these numbers? Again, the Finance Committee is meeting on Thursday to discuss them further. So in a nutshell, our operating budget was a surplus of 462, which we then moved down into capital. So we're squared up that way. Where some of that deficit is coming from our capital budget is some of the funding sources were less. Like for instance, we had budgeted that we were going to take 3 million for some of those capital projects from our loan, and we ended up only getting 1.5. We asked for 1.5 rather, and that's kind of where the revenue, because if you consider the loan revenue, even though it's not, that's where that fund was coming from. We just didn't dip into it as much as we thought we would have to. Is that it in a nutshell?
Yes.
Thanks, Cindy. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say before we move on out of the operating budget, because we'll forget about it, I was gonna ask the same thing if there was any questions on this portion, because those questions will be gone by the time we look at the other ones. The one I did have, the little AVAs that we're trying to claw back, some of the money that we're gonna, is that still on the power bills that they weren't paying?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And they have, I should have said that they are gonna pay?
We already
Yes, so-
agreed, yes, we already agreed, with
Okay.
that. Yeah, we're just gonna,
Yeah, it's a payment plan. It's not gonna be,
yes.
Okay,
it's not gonna be one fell swoop, $60, $70. So it's a payment plan. That's why it's not showing up as a larger number yet in terms of revenue.
Yeah, I'll follow this one now.
that was my only question. No other questions on this page? No?
Okay. Okay, qualitative updates, what we accomplished. This is my old report, it's not the new one.
This is the one that's in the folder.
Now the old report. Hey, I can see it here. Qualitative update. 2026 interim budget approved by council.
What's in the folder?
Q3 CPI and gas tax report approved by MACA. We received the major grants in new and library literacy funding that was part of what we're pursuing by the time I had my last report. So we got that from MACA and another grants in new. Year-end procedures for end of year was successfully carried out with excellent collaboration with IT and May's support. So that gave us some issues last year, but this time around it went very smoothly. What's coming up? Review and reconciliation of our financial reports in preparation for external auditors. We are anticipating that they will come first week of March. We're working towards achieving that. It's a tall order, but we want to see how we can achieve that. $1.6 million gas tax fund for 2025 is still being expected. We expect them to they were to give us this amount in December, but they had some issues which they said they have resolved, and we expect to get it either this month or next month. The deadline for property tax assessment complaints expires this week. We've had 2 complaints so far, and after this stage, to be the stage of the board of revision, where they will look at complaints and then determine the validity and how to resolve those complaints. Finance committee meeting, that's the only other thing going on this week. I think that's about all. Any questions, please?
Any questions or comments from council? All right, looks like we don't have any questions.
Okay.
All right. Next up is our student representative. I believe this is your first update.
Window.
I do not have a PowerPoint for you. I'm very sorry about that. But okay, yay. So we start off the year the way we always do at the school with our homecoming dance. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. So yeah, we kicked off the year with our usual homecoming dance. I don't believe we actually called it that. There was quite a bit of debate of which one was like homecoming, whether it was at the start or the end of the year. But yeah, we called it the homecoming dance. We were given a gardening grant from Whole Foods to another like gardening tower thing, which I don't believe has come in yet, but we have money now. We sent 2 students to the Activate NT conference in Yellowknife, which is to be able to be certified and start like clubs and stuff. So we have 2 new clubs that are run by students. The gaming club, which is on now, it's on Tuesdays and Fridays after school usually. And the fishing club, which at the time I wrote this report was like still in the works, and I believe it still is. At the beginning of the year in September, I believe, we had Berry Fest, which was which aligned with the time of like cranberry season. And yeah, a variety of classes did things on berries. For example, my art class did a bunch of watercolors of berries. And then there's like a bunch of presentations in the gym, and students could wander around, learn things, and parents for invites and such. There were a few new clubs that started: Art Travel Club, Eco Club, Robotics Club, and STEM Club. Not necessarily in that order, just over the past year. Student Council did its usual Halloween Spirit Week, which was a bunch of themed days on the week of Halloween. The first day was hair/hat day. I remember I made a headband with a witch hat on it. And the Friday of Halloween was costume day, but I don't remember any of the other days. In months following that, we did a volleyball trip, and that's the only thing about sports you will be hearing from me.
Where you go?
In December, we did our Christmas week and Christmas Spirit Week, so it's similar to Halloween Spirit Week, just with Christmas themed events. As well as the Christmas Coffee House, which was hosted primarily by the Drama 1011 drama class, who wrote and produced a play. I did both the writing and the acting in it, which is the only reason I'm bringing that up, as well as the drama 10-11 music class, who did a couple of songs, which I was also in, which is again the only reason I'm bringing it up. There were student volunteers at the Business Development Expo. I have no idea what that is. That was like pre-December break stuff. As of now, student council is planning a Valentine's week / dance, which is, from my understanding, we haven't gotten very far in development thus far, but in a similar spirit as the Halloween Spirit Week and Christmas Spirit Week, where there'll be a bunch of theme days. There's the art, we sent some students the Arctic Winter Games tryouts, which I guess I lied. There are some more stuff for in here. Wisdom Fest is ongoing. It's not really like Berry Fest. I'm sure you guys may have heard of this one, but yeah, it's at the end of every semester, and all the students learn the presentations and such about what wisdom they learned. The basketball teams are preparing for 2 upcoming tournaments, one of which is the 3 versus 3, which is in 2 weeks, if I recall correctly. And then the next one's in Yellowknife later, I believe. And the only reason I know that is because my sister's with me. And that is everything. Does anyone have any kind of questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
The Tower Garden, can you explain that?
It's called the aquatics tower, I believe. You can put soil in it. It has lights attached, and you can like plant things.
And it's like little pods,
Hydroponics.
Right.
Hydroponics, thank you.
and how's that going? You growing
We have
anything?
we're planning on starting a gardening club of sorts. We're the original plan. I don't know how this has commenced. There hasn't been any updates as far as I'm aware. But we were planning on like planting different herbs and stuff and like giving them to the students / selling them if we had any extra. That wasn't a very good explanation. No, I don't believe they've ordered it yet. If that was what you were asking.
I'm just concerned, just interested in how it's going and if you guys are growing anything and.
Well, we did have one before and they're still up and running, but it's pretty low key. I don't think we advertise or anything. Mostly the science and foods classes use it. The foods classes to season and the science classes to learn about gardening, where they probably don't have very many other frames of reference here.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Well done.
Any other questions?
Councilor Brian?
Thanks for your update. It takes a lot of courage to come up and provide an update, and you did wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll have a PowerPoint next time. So it's on.
When you were speaking to your peers and developing your report, did anyone mention any ideas or anything that we should hear of how we can better support youth or support the school?
Not really. I didn't get much feedback. I did this posted on my own.
And it's the first one, so
Yeah,
even
for
the first one was wonderful.
Good job.
Anyone? Oh.
Just, I think it's been advertised, but maybe you can help. The Art Travel Club, I believe they have a fundraiser coming up on the 30th. You know anything about that, or can you?
The 31st, the trivia night.
I believe there's a pizza and beer night, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I just want to put that out there for those who are watching to go and support that, and for the local businesses. I know they've been out canvassing for donations as well. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I lost my place. Okay, information items. Do we have any information items? Cindy, nothing else? Other councilors? Okay. Council concerns? No? I just have a quick one. It's just actually more of a question maybe. Website, if we have closures to the different, facilities in town, how is it passed along? Like, I'm guessing it should be passed along through our website, but just in particular when the rec center was closed due to the cold weather or the pool was closed, not the rec center. But I didn't see any update. I was trying to find out when it was open. How does this get relayed, or does it get relayed to our website? Does anyone have an answer for that?
Any updates and news should be on the website as news. People can also, so it's at the bottom of the homepage. And also, each news posted is tagged as either a, community notification, an alert, a council update, newsletter. People can sign up online to whatever, report new they want. So bids as well, bids and tenders. So, and then you'll receive them by email automatically. If you haven't signed up, then you just need to go on the homepage of the website. Or if, for example, if there's a new schedule of the pool, it should be on the actual pool page of the website as well. Along with the post office and billboards around town, library, MSC, and of course, Facebook.
Yeah, so there is, maybe I missed it, there was a posting when the pool was closed for those days on the webpage, or?
I believe it was last week. Regarding the.
Yeah, like when there's a pool closure, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, or sorry, Wednesday again, I think, or was there? I just wasn't sure, I went to see if it was open. It was, okay, I did look, maybe I didn't look in the right spot. And so that just gets relayed from whoever at the rec center or whatever facility to you, and then you post it on the
Correct.
website?
Any information that needs to be posted is from any person working for the town.
Okay.
And goes through marketing, for communication and.
Okay.
Without.
Thank you. Any other concerns? All right, I don't believe we have any in-camera items. So, we're good. Thank you.
Good job.
Today, I'm a little disappointed. I know, it's a Wednesday, only a Wednesday.